Okay, in this section we're going to look at the microscope studies of the thyroid. Okay, so in this view, this would be the throat area. Okay, so ideally that would be the so-called Adam's apple, okay, the thyroid cartilage, just to orient you at what we're looking at. Okay, so this is an anterior view, and here you can see this is the thyroid, anterior view, and if we zoom in, okay, you can see the different cells of the thyroid. And this next slide, more detailed anatomy of the thyroid. Again, the anterior throat area. Here's the hyoid bone. Okay, here's the cricothyroid ligament, the thyroid cartilage, okay, the thyroid gland, and the trachea. Okay. On this one, this is a posterior view of the thyroid, the anterior view here, and when we flip it around, or a posterior view, what I'd like you to focus on here is the parathyroid glands. Okay, so we do have 4 of them. 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. The superior parathyroid glands and the inferior parathyroid glands. Okay, this slide we have an actual microscope view. So in lab, had we taken a actual glass slide, put it under the microscope, zoomed in, this is what we would see. Okay, so you can see the thyroid, the follicle here. Okay. You can see the follicular cells. And I'm also going to draw this out in a minute to make it stand out better. You also have the parafollicular cells, also known as the C cells. Okay, the colloid is simply the fluid that's found inside of the follicle, which we'll talk about that in a minute. On this slide, you will be able to see part of the thyroid gland over here. Okay, and here's the parathyroid. So this would be a posterior part of that tissue. And they took a sample. We tried to collect most of the parathyroid gland. Of course, they're going to get some thyroid tissue in there. You can see the follicle. Okay. You can see the parafollicular cells here and the follicular cells that surround the follicle. Okay. But this is what the parathyroid gland would look like. Okay, on this one, grab a blank sheet of paper. We're going to do some drawings here of the thyroid. Okay, this would be to mimic what you would have likely seen under a microscope and then drawn for yourself. Okay, so this would be there's your field of view. Okay, so inside you would see follicle with the follicular cells. And another follicle with follicular cells. Okay, so this whole thing there is a follicle. And these would be the follicular cells. Okay, and the follicular cells release your T3 and T4 hormones. T3 is the triiodothyronine, okay, triiodothyronine, and T4 is the thyroxine. Okay, and these are ultimately responsible for metabolism. We do have the parafollicular cells that are around or surround themselves around the follicle. Okay, so all those would be the parafollicular cells. Okay, and they release calcitonin. Okay, and calcitonin is designed to reduce blood serum calcium levels. Okay, keep in mind, let's say you consume a high calcium diet. Lots of calcium is now floating around your body. The calcitonin is released, and that is going to help take the calcium and store it into bone. Okay, inside of the follicle, you're going to find the colloid. Okay, which is the basically the fluid that's inside of the follicle, and it contains thyroglobulin. Okay, thyroglobulin is a protein that's produced by the follicular cells. Okay, and what happens is the follicular cells are going to take tyrosine, which is an amino acid, and it's going to take iodine, and in the presence of thyroperoxidase, okay, thyroperoxidase is going to convert it. Okay, so thyroperoxidase is an enzyme, and it is going to convert, when those two things come together, okay, inevitably now you're going to make the thyroid hormone molecules. Okay, so all of this eventually is going to synthesize or make your T3 and T4s. So going back to a regular thyroid slide, okay, now you're hopefully seeing what we just drew out. Okay, see the all of these here. are the follicle cells, or follicular cells. All of these are the parafollicular cells, also known as C cells. Colloids in the middle, fluid stuff is in the middle. Okay, and all of this that you're looking at would be thyroid tissue.